I didn't stop her when she said she needed space. I didn't protest as she folded her clothes into a suitcase, passing by the framed memories where we once smiled without doubt. I didn't even stand up when she lingered at the doorway, almost waiting for me to give her a reason to stay. I remained in my chair, not because my feelings had vanished. If anything, they were overwhelming, but because I refused to beg for a love that had already walked out in spirit. She didn't cry. Neither did I. My silence wasn't coldness. It was exhaustion. Sometimes love isn't lost in a dramatic fight, but worn down by battles that leave both sides too tired to keep going. She left on a Sunday. I remember because I skipped church that day, unable to pray, when the only prayer I had was watching the person I loved shut the door without turning back. No goodbye. No promise to return. Just a soft, fragile, take care. The lock clicked and everything changed. For days, the house felt like smoke had settled into every corner. Her shoes still rested by the entrance. Her toothbrush still leaned against mine as if nothing had changed. Yet everything had. Friends asked how I was doing. I lied with, "I'm okay, just busy," when in reality, I was learning how to breathe again without her presence filling the room. I never blocked her number. I never wrote desperate messages at midnight. I never begged her back. Because the moment you beg for love, it stops being love. It becomes survival. And I was tired of surviving in something that wasn't whole. So I stayed quiet and carried on. Work. Cooking my own meals again. Long walks in the evening. Pretending the air against my skin was enough to heal me. At night, I catch echoes of her laughter in the hum of the fan or the flick of the refrigerator light, and I close my eyes, trying to erase the ghost of her head resting on my chest. I told myself healing doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly, quietly, and over time, it did. 6 months later, her name lit up my screen. "Hey, can I ask you something?" My heart jolted, not in anger, but in caution. I wasn't sure if the person I had become could survive another goodbye. I typed back, "You can ask." She told me she was back in town, that she'd been thinking about me, that she wanted to see me. If I was willing. Every instinct told me not to open that door, but I agreed anyway. The next day, she arrived. Same face, same voice, but her eyes carried a different weight, like someone who had been burned and finally realized fire isn't worth the scars. She smiled nervously. I didn't return it, not out of spite, but restraint. We sat across from each other, two strangers wearing the memories of who we once were. Then she asked, "Did you ever move on?" The question hit harder than I expected. I looked at the woman who once knew me better than anyone, the woman I released because holding on had been tearing me apart, and I said, "What does moving on mean to you?" She twisted the ring on her finger and whispered, "It means, do I still have a place here?" I exhaled slowly, not out of anger, but in grief for what we might have been if love hadn't turned into war. I didn't move on in the way you think. I told her. I didn't find someone else. I didn't replace you. I just kept walking. Through the nights I almost called, through the ache that wouldn't let me sleep, until I found myself again. Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice trembled. I thought leaving would bring clarity. All it did was remind me of what I lost. I didn't answer right away. Every word worth saying had already been spoken in the past. Finally, she asked, "Do you still love me?" I gave her a small, sad smile. Love doesn't just vanish. But the man who needed you, that man isn't here anymore. She lowered her gaze, carrying the weight of my words, and let them settle in her chest. She didn't try to kiss me. She didn't ask me to reconsider. She just sat quietly for a moment, then stood and walked to the door. With her hand on the handle, she whispered, "I hope you're happy." "I am," I said honestly, not because I had moved on from her, but because I had finally come back to myself. She smiled through her tears. "Good. You deserve that." Then she left. No promises of tomorrow. No false hope of starting again. Just an ending that was clean, respectful, and final. And I realized something. Sometimes the deepest love you'll ever give is the one you give yourself. The love that refuses to chase after someone who chooses to walk away. Not because you're cold, but because you finally know your own worth. Choosing peace over pride doesn't make you weak. It means you've healed. And that will always matter more than any unfinished love story.